Most people see the videos and think they've got it all figured out. A couple from Arizona, a big truck, some stuck cars, and a whole lot of goodwill. Simple, right? But Murphy's Diesel is one of those operations that looks straightforward on the surface and gets a lot more interesting the deeper you dig. Because behind the free rescues the monster builds and the rapidly growing fan base, there's a story most viewers never stop to think about. How does a small family towing company go from zero online presence to over 700,000 YouTube subscribers in just 3 years? Why do so many people question what they see on screen, and what's really driving all of it? Before you hit play on their next video, there are a few things about Murphy's Diesel that nobody's actually talking about, until now. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Murphy's Diesel had been operating for 8 full years before they ever posted a single YouTube video. 8 years of recoveries, 8 years of dangerous highway jobs, 8 years of building a real business from the ground up, and none of it was on camera. When the channel finally launched on February 7, 2022, there was no viral moment, no celebrity cosign, no algorithm hack. They just started filming what they were already doing every day. What happened next is the part that should turn heads. Within 3 years, the channel crossed 700,000 subscribers and racked up over 121 million views. That kind of growth doesn't happen by accident, and it didn't happen because of production value either. Early videos were raw, unpolished, and completely unscripted. What they had was something most YouTube channels spend years trying to manufacture: authenticity. Real jobs, real terrain, real outcomes. Viewers could tell the difference. But timing played a bigger role than most people realize. By 2022, the off-road and heavy recovery niche on YouTube was already well established, with channels like Matt's Off-Road Recovery pulling in millions of loyal viewers. Murphy's Diesel didn't just enter that space, they carved out their own lane inside it, leaning hard into the free recovery angle and the sheer scale of their equipment. While other channels were recovering Jeeps and side-by-sides, Wrecker Rick was pulling out semi-trucks and motorhomes. The audience noticed. What started as a decision to document their work turned into something nobody in that shop could have predicted. The thing that keeps people coming back to Murphy's Diesel isn't the equipment. It isn't even the rescues. It's the fact that they do most of it for free. Pull up any comment section and you'll find people genuinely stunned by it. A heavy recovery operation, with professional crews and 6-figure equipment, rolling out to pull strangers off trails and out of ditches without sending a bill. In the towing industry, where a single off-road recovery can run into the thousands of dollars, that's not just unusual, it's almost unheard of. So how does it actually work? Rick has explained it publicly more than once. The YouTube channel generates ad revenue, and that revenue goes straight back into funding the free recoveries. Sponsors and merchandise sales add another layer on top of that. When someone they've just rescued tries to hand over cash, and plenty of them do, Rick turns it down. And when a person won't take no for an answer, that money gets passed on to the next person who needs help. It's a pay-it-forward loop built on top of a content business, and on paper it holds together. But not everyone buys it that cleanly. The model does raise a legitimate question that floats around the comment sections. If the rescues are free because of the YouTube revenue, then the rescues also need to keep happening to keep the revenue flowing. At some point, the content and the charity become the same thing. Whether that changes the spirit of what they're doing is something viewers have been quietly debating since the channel took off. And that debate was about to get a whole lot louder. If there was ever a moment that put Murphy's Diesel on the map beyond the YouTube algorithm, it was March 2025. A brutal winter storm rolled through the high country of northern Arizona, dumping over 2 feet of snow and forcing Interstate 40 to shut down completely. Drivers who tried to dodge the closure by following GPS detours onto back roads quickly found out why that was a mistake. Cars and trucks were getting stuck faster than anyone could count, stranded in freezing temperatures with no way out and no idea how long they'd be waiting. Wrecker Rick and his crew didn't wait to be called. They went to work and didn't stop for 40 hours straight. By the time it was over, they had pulled out close to 30 vehicles, all of it free of charge. Rick described the scene on camera as astronomical, with groups of 15 to 20 cars stacking up behind each recovery before they could even finish the one in front of them. At one point, the situation got so backed up that he had to turn people around entirely, telling drivers heading toward the jam to go back before they became part of it. Fox 10 Phoenix picked up the story, and suddenly Murphy's Diesel wasn't just a YouTube channel anymore. It was a local news headline. The coverage introduced the operation to an entirely new audience. People who had never seen a recovery video in their lives but understood exactly what it meant for a stranger to spend 40 hours in a blizzard pulling people out for nothing. That kind of moment doesn't come from a content strategy. It just happens, and the cameras were already rolling. At a certain point in the growth of any content-driven brand, the merchandise comes out. For Murphy's Diesel, that meant an online store selling recovery gear, branded apparel, and entry tickets into truck giveaways. And that's where things got a little more complicated. The giveaways themselves are genuinely impressive on paper. Their first one, nicknamed Big Booty Judy, handed a fully customized Ram truck to a fan named Jason Crum. The second was even bigger, another Ram truck bundled with an Eagle's Nest toy hauler won by a viewer named Michael. Real prizes, real winners documented publicly on their website. By any surface-level measure, it all checks out. But comment sections have a way of asking questions that press releases don't answer. How do we know the winners are real? How do we know the entries are counted fairly? Why is the giveaway not available in Rhode Island, Minnesota, or Florida? That last one tends to stop people mid-scroll. The answer is straightforward. Those 3 states have stricter sweepstakes regulations that make running certain promotions legally complicated, but for viewers who didn't know that, it looked like a red flag. Murphy's Diesel responded by going further than most creators would bother to. They published a detailed public FAQ explaining that entries are tracked through a platform called Quick, winners are verified by a separate third-party company called CreatorMate, and the selection process uses an open-source random algorithm that the Murphy's team has no ability to influence. Whether that satisfied every skeptic is another question entirely. What it did show is that they were paying attention to what their audience was saying, and they weren't willing to let the questions go unanswered. Most YouTube channels in the recovery niche have a signature truck. Murphy's Diesel has Hellboy, a machine they publicly called the world's largest off-road wrecker. It's a bold claim, and it's the kind of statement that tends to follow a channel around. Fans love it. Skeptics immediately start typing. And somewhere in the middle of that argument, Murphy's Diesel built an entire content series around it. But Hellboy wasn't enough. While that rig was already out in the field pulling rigs out of canyons and off cliff edges, the team quietly started work on something even bigger. The foundation was a 1969 Peterbilt 352 needle-nose cab-over, a compact, brutish platform that looked nothing like what it was about to become. The Murphy's Diesel crew shortened the frame, bolted on military-spec axles, relocated the front axle entirely to improve the approach angle, and stripped the cab down to bare metal to make room for a full custom roll cage. The original dash, the original airlines, the original cab itself, all of it went. Even the cab used in the build came from a different truck, chopped and fitted low over the engine to drop the center of gravity as far down as possible. The winch setup alone made people stop scrolling. Plans called for up to 7 Warrior winches mounted on a completely custom mast, replacing the Holmes unit that came with the build. The goal was a rig compact enough to go anywhere Hellboy could go, but capable of pulling out loads that would stop most wreckers cold. Whether it officially earns the title of world's largest is still being debated, but nobody's arguing it isn't impressive. Here's what's easy to miss when you're watching a Murphy's Diesel video for the first time. You see a truck, a stuck vehicle, and a rescue. What you don't immediately see is a decade of groundwork, a business model that didn't exist in this space before they built it, and a couple from Arizona who made a calculated bet that filming their real life would be enough. Turns out they were right. Is every element of the operation perfectly clean? No. The giveaway questions are real, even if the answers are reasonable. The line between content and charity is blurry, even if the rescues are genuine, and slapping "world's largest" on anything is going to attract people who want to prove you wrong. But none of that changes what actually happened on that highway in March 2025, when Rick Murphy spent 40 hours in a blizzard pulling strangers out of snowdrifts for nothing. That's the part that's hard to manufacture. And that might be the real truth about Murphy's Diesel that nobody talks about, not because it's hidden, but because it's a lot less dramatic than people expect. Sometimes the story is just what it looks like.